Welcome, everyone. This is Dr. Thor. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, we're going to talk about Dr. Parcells, the famous healer, and her aspects into radionics. Now, this is not very well known from her tradition, yet it was. She used radionic type equipment all the time. It's very big into subtle energy physics as it's known today. And of course, people grab onto because they don't really understand radionics in any way whatsoever and its subtle energy physics reality to it. Because nobody really understands radionics. Now, she understands subtle energies, use pendulums and everything else. This is all part of this subtle energy physics reality out there that nobody really knows about. So this is as her teachings go ahead, mostly what's involved in this is the physicality of it. And of course, one of the problems is as well, it's easy to take the physical understandings, herbs, baths, the using salts, and all the other things that she used in her baths, and so forth. This is very easy to replicate and pretty easy to understand. The minute you start moving into subtle energy physics, we go into crazy land. We've had some very serious problems with this field in general, particularly the persecution of doctors that use it and the kind of outlawing of it to a degree. And even that's not entirely true because there's certain laws in certain states, like even the very corrupt New York state. There is a law that states a doctor can do any kind of treatment they want that is non-invasive. So it's not as outlawed as people think it is. But of course, that's medicine and it's done by doctors. So radionics is not medicine. Radionics doesn't work like medicine. Radionics has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's subtle energy physics. And while medical practitioners work from the physical, the subtle energy physicist works from the non-physical. And this doesn't have to have anything to do with health. Health is a very important factor in your life. Because if you're not healthy, you can't do anything else. But health is just really one aspect of your life. And ultimately, while it's very important, because it is what keeps you going in the other areas of your life to seek gnosis and to ascend out of this reality, it is not very important in the bigger picture. And you can't work with the physical only. Now, the actual, quote, energetic or physical body, where the medical practitioners work from the physical out and the subtle energy practitioners work from the outside in. They work from energetic fields down into the physical. Now, it's completely opposite from regular physics, which start with the physical and then try and contrive that there are fields or other energy things. Well, a subtle energy physicist understands that the entire reality of the universe is based in energetic or informational energetic fields that create everything. And again, we don't want to get caught into just the realities of your physicality, which really isn't physical. But, there's a reality there, and everybody should obviously. There's a super balance that has to go on. I've always been a big supporter of using needed medical doctors and medicine as needed because there isn't alternatives that work all that well. So if you're gasping for breath, you better grab a asthma inhaler and not hold a crystal to your chest. So the whole idea is there's an idiot factor on both sides. The other problem is that medicines can be very, very toxic. And we have a medical industry that is basically all the pharmaceuticals are to treat the symptoms of a disease. That's what the legal definition of a pharmaceutical is. So they're not seeking gnosis. They're not seeking cures. So they're seeking to treat the symptoms of. Which, if you think about it, well, yeah, that's smart to do initially. But when that becomes your entire practice, well, there's a problem. And everybody's given up on having anything work because of that. So the whole idea is we have to keep all these things in mind, and we have to understand the reality that's going on there of how these different things are working. But part of this interest in Parcells goes back to many different aspects. The fact that she lived to be 106, I don't know if that means anything at all, to be quite honest with you. Certainly, people want to see that your work works for you. Of course, that's kind of a simplistic way of looking at things, and just because one person does something, it doesn't mean it works for you. And secondly, it's no proof that their system overly works except for them. You have to understand the bigger picture of things, and most people that get into things, and this is very typical of radionic practitioners, don't live that long because they're dealing with a lot of negative energies, and most likely, it's like people who tend to become psychologists and so forth. People go into psychiatry because they're crazy. That used to be an old joke in the 70s. And I think it's very true. And this is the problem with all that so-called mental field, is that it's really a mental case field. The people in all of these industries are people who have serious problems, but that's what motivated them to seek it. So healers generally are people that are sick. And sick people will be looking for healing things. So, well, you're sick. How can you have anything of value there? Why don't you cure yourself? Well, of course, and that's what people are looking to do, and that is, of course, the always question there. If it really works, why doesn't it work for you? Well, it doesn't mean that something works, has to work for you entirely. How does it work for everybody? Because as I just stated, if it only works for me, well, who cares? So I care because it works for me, but if it doesn't work for you, there's a problem there. So we have to understand that the energetic is the key to everything. So everything in the universe, and this is outlined in my subtle energy physics course, soon to be released, which talks about the structure of the universe. And why is that important? We're not talking theoretical nonsense here. This isn't regular schmiantis. This isn't these goofball idiots that have been overeducated and dumbed down through the repetition of stupidity, lying facts that they think are facts, but are really illogical nothings with no proof whatsoever. So, yeah, that's regular society. But, of course, we have an entire group of people who live in comic book religions who think these fake little books with goofy little stories are real. Oh, yeah, there was a flood. Ooh, and a guy in a boat got 2 of everything. Yes, this is correct. It's a fact. We found this little boat up on the mountain there in Turkey somewhere. This kind of stuff is just... if it wasn't so tragic in infecting the species of this planet, it is comical. So, but... with all that stuff, we have to. So this isn't theory. This isn't religion. You have to understand, if you're going to make something or interact with an energy field, that you have to understand it, to harness it, use it, and direct it to your goal. So if you think everything is made from water and you build all your tools, whatever it is, like hoses to channel water when you're actually channeling electricity, well, I just can't understand, Dr. Thor, why it don't work. I plug my hose into my electrical appliances, I'm not getting any juice. Well, because water ain't electricity, buddy. No, not what it says at MIT. So the whole idea is, these are all the things that we have to fully understand. So you have to understand what these energies are if you're going to harness it. And this goes down to what's happening no matter what you're doing. If you're taking herbs, if you're taking homeopathics. So, and you could classify, now that I brought that up a wee bit, radionics is basically a type of homeopathy. It's really just broadcast homeopathy. And in general, homeopathy is nothing but energy. So there's nothing physically there in homeopathic products if they are made correctly. You're taking something physical, you're turning it into the energetic, which, of course, you can use better. Now, the energetic is not only just with things to do with the physical body. It has to do with Gnosis, wisdom. It has to do with luck, success, love. All of this is energetic in nature. So to just think of that, you need energy for physical things, which is on a crude level, is just one aspect of the entire reality out there. So we do have to understand the bigger picture here. And when we get into Parcells, I mean, she was heavily involved in homeopathy, radionics, and all these subtle energies, as well as using physical substances. And this seems to be a combination that is a necessity to this time until recently, until I've broken what we're going to call the fourth wall, if we want to use some kind of goofy terms. The bottom line is we don't need physical reality substances or anything else to change any energy field. So if you got bad luck, if things are happening to you, or maybe you have all sorts of problems that are not necessarily physical based, well, this is an energetic problem. So we correct it. How do you make it? Why are some people more successful than others? Well, I've studied this, and successful people are some of the dumbest people in the planet. You know, Bill Gates never graduated college. He's a high school graduate. Now, he did get accepted at Harvard and went there for a couple of days or a few months or whatever it is. And the point is that what we say is a trained person is not. So, Richard Branson from Virgin, the billionaire that wrote several books, which I haven't read, and I'm not sure I will, stated in a TV interview that he didn't know the difference between a credit and a debit. So, yeah, these are the geniuses. Steve Jobs, high school graduate. He got his training over in Maharishi Land. He took mushrooms and saw the light. He saw Wozniak, the guy who built everything. And then all the other people who built Apple, which were big shot business people. The only thing that Steve Jobs could do, it should look pretty. Well, I'm an aesthetic person. That's why when I built my equipment, I put them in beautiful wood boxes, use pure copper, all the stuff that, someone who gives a damn does and who is seeking Gnosis. So the idea of it all is the fact that you have to be going beyond that. So these people are successful because they have natural success energies around them. It's as simple as that. They attract certain people, and there's a whole series of things that are involved in that. They're do it. But basically, when you get down to that, ultimate high-level success has nothing to do with your personal skill. It gets down to the almost comical understanding is that would you rather be good or lucky? And the answer to that has always been the fact that most people say, well, I'd rather be lucky. So the whole idea is these people don't have any technical skills. Bill Gates said that the internet would never manifest. It would be hard. Oh, it don't make no sense. Let's punch in the great DOS system. Punch little keys 50 times. So, oh, well, I found Windows. Oh, I found it? Oh, yeah, I stole it from Jobs, who stole it from Intel, who stole it from who knows where. So the whole idea is all this stuff is the illusion that you're talking about. So, but the bottom line is that everything is based in this. If we're going to ultimately create high-level well-being, high-level consciousness, meaning you start thinking properly and don't follow stupid religions, and all the things that go on to that, and believe stupid politics, and get caught in your own culture, in your own race, and all the things that cause the society to take a giant dump. We're going to have to go on beyond that. And of course, there are goals other than saving a few people so they can live a bit longer. I think it's a shallow viewpoint. But the bottom line is that one thing leads to another. You master your well-being, which includes all these other areas, and then you reach a high level of consciousness, because that's the only thing that really matters in the end. You're not taking anything with you. If you live to be 150 or 200, well, most people are going to spend that time drinking beer, watching sports. Oh, a football game's on, Bart. Oh, yeah, let's spend more. I can live 200 now. I can watch 80,000 more games, yeah. Make more crap beer. So the whole idea is that these are the type of things that we run into. So long life does not mean a reach or a state of Gnosis. But of course, you need time to do it. And we're at a particular point that if you don't live to be 150 well, you can't really achieve much of anything. So most people become very much expert pretty much at the time they retire. So if someone's been in their field and they're now in their 60s, etc., well, they should know their stuff. And certainly at a level that they have met and experienced it. Now, have they reached the Gnosis level in terms of taking that information and understanding what it's all about? Well, probably not, but at least you need time to do it. And I think if we live to be 150, people would think differently. They probably, while they would waste a lot of time, of course you do that anyway, it doesn't really matter, you would be thinking that, hey, I'm going to be here a long time. I need a place to live. I need a better environment. Maybe I should eat better so I feel better. I think all of these things would do that. But so all of this is part of the bigger picture. But let's get back to the energetic reality. Now, Parcells is very much into that. She used a lot of pendulums. This is even in her more basic book that is out there and readily available. And there's several people that have made books on her systems and have courses, etc. Some are better than others, and I'm looking into this to a degree, but we'll see what happens there. A lot of these people... I'm not sure. We have to be very careful that people price their stuff properly. That's what Parcells was all about. And if they're going to charge lots of money and they're not going to give people good, you can get books basically for free on Kindle monthly. I always forget what they call that. It's $9 a month or $10 a month, and you can look up anything you need. It's your library of anything, because Kindle books, when you join their service, which is not all Kindle books, but they have millions of books on every subject in. One of them, of course, is Parcells. One of her books is there that you can get basically for free. You read it. You can keep it for as long as you have the service if you want it, and it's always there. You don't need to have a physical book. What you need to have is physical action. Now, a lot of her stuff is very, very simple, and one of the things I've always liked about Parcells is that she doesn't seem to be money-oriented. Of course, she didn't basically need the money, and I'm not sure how much she charged for her classes or what, but, there's a reality out there. You have to pay buildings, you need money, and unfortunately, in this day and age, you need huge amounts of money. So you're talking about, if you're not bringing in $10,000 a month, you're going to have difficulties getting by in most places. But if you're running a business, you're going to have a lot of money. If you have overhead, if you have all those things. Now, we've been able to eliminate some of this in the internet age, but this is all part of the realities out there. So cost is important because that shows the intent of someone doing something, especially if they're not providing physical products. But you got to remember that training is the ultimate. There's no way to put price on something if you learn something that changes your life. This could be a way to properly do sports betting, how to trade in the stock market, how to eat, what herbs to take. This is priceless. And if you have to pay somebody who spent their life researching this, well, that's right. And you expect them to be there to keep giving you more information, well, you have to support them. And people don't want to do that. So this is the problem. And then people push it onto organizations, whether it's the government or colleges, who then take it and corrupt it. Simple as that. The individual, generally, you're going to get better information from. But you got to remember that everybody's delusion as well. Do they know their full thing, their full subject matter? Well, Parcells System is basically good. I do disagree with her in a lot of areas. And, of course, we're in a very different time where I'm not sure some of her actual ways of eating are the same. But, I mean, it's a common sense approach to a lot of ways. Her food combining is interesting. It's amazing how so many things we believe in today seem to have come from. I don't think she invented it, but certainly she was the one that pushed it out there. But, there's a lot of things I don't agree with in those as well. And I'm not sure that her research in foods were necessarily the optimum research or information that she has to give. She trained at it, she's training in the 30s, 40s at schools that she spent most of her life in a institution of complete control. And to think that she got some great food science out of that, I think that's naive and actually silly. But of course, there are some things that do make sense there. And of course, nobody ever talked about food combining. But, when people are well, and they still are in most worlds, they're combining all sorts of foods. So I'm not a big fan of that. On the other hand, you have to understand. So the food science there is interesting. Some of it's good. Some of it I think, is very outdated. To say that certain things like cheese and meat, like a cheeseburger, is indigestible, and you can't digest it at all. Ooh, that's kind of a ridiculous statement. People eat these kind of things all the time, and they eat cheese and meat all the time, and people are digesting it. They're not having any negative reactions. Now, if you want to go into everybody's body and figure out what they handle and not handle through muscle testing, a great book is The Body Doesn't Lie. I believe that's, again, on Kindle for, I don't know, maybe it isn't on Kindle for free, but you can locate that. It's still in print at low cost. And this tells you how to do muscle testing. Very, very important. And of course, she incorporated all this. So she was a very synergistic person, and this is basically my philosophy as well. And it just makes sense in life. Take all the information you can, pick all the good stuff out of it, and discard the bad stuff. And the good stuff is ultimately that works for you. But we have to understand that we have to get past the physical in general. None of the physical ultimately does anything. So we have to energetically deal with things to restructure the entire flow of energy. As you restructure the entire flow of energy, whether that's for well-being or for success, whatever it may be, to balance your mental attitudes, because let's not get stuck in one particular area. And let's not think that it can only be used there. So the whole idea is once you balance all the energetic fields on your body, you then have that interesting reality that happens, which once you have stabilized the physical, we're hoping that this can stabilize the mental, and then this can stabilize the high level spiritual, which is ascension, not religion. Religion is a poison. So the whole idea of people who are religious are stupid. And they're taking poison in, plain and simple. And that's all religions. There are no good religions, period. And so we need to understand all that, because that clouds your thinking. If you're going to use this higher consciousness technology, which is what radionics is a science of subtle energy physics using a unique type of energy. And it works through the human tool and using other tools, which is why it's so special and interesting. Because of the fact it's not a machine. I'm not sure they're machines that do anything. Well, you want to click a machine on to do something for you. Well, life isn't that simple, and nor should it be. If the really horrific evil species that is here can develop machines to do anything and just click it on, well, the world would be in a horrible situation. We have some of that today, and look what we have. We have very advanced killing technology and nothing else. And of course, science is telling you all sorts of nonsensical stuff that really means nothing, because they produce nothing. And if it is potent, you'll never hear about it. So the whole idea is we have to have a technology that is taking you as an entity and bringing it up to a higher level, so you kind of get it. Because, most of the problems we have in this particular Earth and between the species in this Earth and everybody involved with it really has to do with the lack of understanding and consciousness of the person. We don't really have any problems. Everything is available to us, but we have problems with the human species, who is intrinsically evil and rotten. Just look at history. So this is a reality out there that we have to understand. That we have to understand the need to rise above this and rise away from it. So this all combines. So, this is not a machine technology. This is not a technology that can be used by anybody to higher levels. Now, I always try and make things as easy and as, quote, machine-like as possible. Use this template. Put it on the machines. Focus your energy here. So I make it so anybody can use it and that they can get excellent results with it without having to necessarily be smart, to be conscious. But the technology will not work for bad people. At least my technology won't work for them. But there are plenty of bad people, and basically have taken over radionics that are out there. There are no credible radionic manufacturers that I am aware of out there other than myself. Everybody else has been compromised or are building old-style junk, at the least. Most of it is just garbage. So the rest of it, as the few people that made some interesting technology, well, all of these people have pretty much died now. The Bruce Copens of this world, the Hieronymuses, etc. They had some very interesting technologies and did some serious research. These companies have all disappeared, and Bruce Copen company has been taken over by people who decided to make everything into the worthless. Just shows you when you get something good and somebody else takes over, they made it into worthless, digitalized garbage. Very much influenced by the satanic Germans who have taken over that company. And then you have all the other people that are involved in that as well. So we have all sorts of problems there of weird design. But I don't think people ever understood what they were doing. They're certainly not out there doing much. And there's very little you can get from anywhere. And it's very difficult to get information in general because of the sensitivity of it. Even when it gets down to, non-physical type uses, people are afraid to even do things apparently agriculturally because there's billions of dollars in these pesticides. Yet there is information out there, and it is not exactly everybody being particularly. And farmers are pretty stupid people. They're not going to buy the fact of using this kind of technology. These are people who are at the kind of the lowest level you can get, most of these contra people. So the whole idea is they're not going to understand any of that, and maybe if you could prove to them they could save a lot of money getting down to their lower chakra where they operate from, you may be able to. But in general, very few people use that, which is comical in its own way as well. So when you get into all the other things that you can do with it, and one of the most critical areas of radionics and basically well-being is making sure that you are uncrossed. Now, I've talked about this for years. This is an old concept that goes back to metaphysics and to removing the blockages in your life. And of course, as your metaphysical teacher, you would go to them because you tried all the other stuff, and that's what all about, isn't all that everything alternative. You work within the society system, you find out it don't work. Yeah, so you go to the alternatives. That may or may not work, and they may be nuts. They may be helpful. Who knows what's going on with them? But they may have gives you a shred of hope, which you should never live in anyway. But the whole idea, hope and fear, are things you stay away from. So the whole idea is that you seek that. So over the years, people find, well, I've done all this stuff. How come I'm still having problems? And again, most people have problems that are based in society. It's not just a well-being. They have trouble making money. They run into problems. They have great negativity in their life. They can't keep relationships. Their level of success, even though they're educated and smart, is low because they are crossed. Just like cross. If you're walking and you cross your feet, what happens? You fall down. So you're not going no way. So it's a cross condition. And everybody is crossed to some degree. Some people, and most of society that I test people, are at high levels of being crossed, which means that it's like walking down a road that has hundreds of trees that fell across the road. Well, you can't drive your car down a road with trees. So what do you got to do? You got to go out there and remove all those trees so you can remove the blockages so you can get through that road. And that can be a difficult process, especially because over the years, that road keeps getting piled and piled more trees on it, blocking you. These then start moving into your finances, your health, and everything else. This is the ultimate science behind all this energetics. And most people ignore this stuff. But this is all part, when you get into energetics, into subtle energy physics, you understand these concepts. So if you're unblocked, if you're uncrossed, once you uncross an area, you will then have success in it. So if you're having success problems, job, etc., relationships, well, you're crossing it. You have to uncross that first. And it goes with everything. If you're having other body energy problems, will uncross the energy there so that it can flow. This is very typical with Asian medicine, with the flow of the meridians. The meridians are clogged, or they're not flowing properly. Well, that's a cross condition. You've got a tree down in your meridian for that particular organ. So the whole idea is that this is very critical to remove these, and then things in your life people tend to all of a sudden get better. They all of a sudden have success. All of these things across. And this is a very elaborate and detailed research that is really has never been done by anybody but me, as most of the research I do. Nobody does anything like I do, nor do they have the independence I do, and are seeking truth instead of profits. So the whole idea of, and nobody seeks truth. That's the problem with the live. You're not going to find truth from a scientist, from a religious guy. No, they're perpetrating their job. Well, scientists aren't gonna give you anything that goes against what they've learned. Well, I got it. It's my job. I can't. If I say this is nonsense, well, I don't have a job. If religion is garbage, which almost everybody in religion really comes to that conclusion, particularly your priests, your ministers, etc., none of these people are serious believing in that nonsense because they've spent their entire life there, but they're believing in their job. Just like militaries who never win any wars. Do you think they really believe in anything that goes on there? Well, you're very naive if you think that's the case. So the whole idea is all of these things kind of combine into that. But getting back to Parcells, I mean, she in her seminars, I know a person who spent a lot of time with her, went to all of her seminars, even still has a lot of her paperwork, and went through her system many times with and so forth, and got fairly good results in some areas. But the problem is, we always run into different problems. But so, I mean, there's really good stuff there, but like many people, nobody's interested in sharing it or getting it out to the masses. And of course, most of this stuff has all been written in the books that have been released on Parcells System, which gives you a good foundation, but doesn't really talk about the other stuff from, when I originally read her books, I was a little bit disappointed because, this is kind of a person at my level. I mean, this is just kind of, this is regular healing stuff. Use these type of things, watch your food, and so forth. So all of this kind of made sense, and there's, as I said, there's several areas that I don't agree with her on, but whatever. I mean, you take what works in your life, and it's hard to really understand the value of some of the things that are done there, which are kind of difficult to do. Some of her food cleaning stuff doesn't really make much sense, but and it's very time consuming and difficult. So the whole idea is that does that matter? Well, if you did things correctly, and she does it herself with her different lights and other things, and most of her products that she used in her practice are available for those that want it. We are in contact with the person that makes her products, her lamps, even a copy of her pendulum. Again, pendulums are what you use for subtle energy physics, and something you have to become a master at. And if you want to work with radionic equipment and you can't use a pendulum, you can't use radionics. There's no other way to do it. So don't believe the garbage you've been taught with rubbing plates and everything else. Yeah. This stuff annoys me because it's so wrong. So the whole idea is that if you're looking for those products, contact me, her beds and everything else. So there's lots of these products that she did. I believe her boards and everything else she used to measure things, which is a radionic tool. Again, this is a pendulum radionic subtle energy physics tool. Simple as that. So these are all available for people that want that. We'll be having those on our website soon. For those that actually need it. We also have now released a basic radionic machine at a very excellent price that everybody can afford. Simple to use, but it's got the very critical. It's based on the old radionic technologies, particularly of Ruth Down and Della War, which were very simple machines. We show you what the wiring looks like. I have nothing to hide. I show everybody of what my things are made of. I have my proprietary ways of making certain things, and of course, I'm a master. If you want to get the proper radionic rates that work, you have to go to a master. You can't do it yourself. This stuff that you've been brainwashed by corporations that you can do everything yourself, so you buy their products, is nonsense. So the whole idea is you can do certain things yourself and be less dependent. Other things, if you want high-level results, well, you have to use lots of things. And when we're talking about subtle energy physics, it's a combination of many things into one greater thing called synergistic realities. So if you're looking for those things or interested, and we're going to talk about each one of these products as well and show them online here so that people can look at these and get these things. I mean, having a good pendulum is important. Now, we have other pendulums as well, and we have found what makes these things work. She has her own system and likes stainless steel and so forth, which has its own resonance, etc. So if you're interested in that, really want to have that, well, you can buy the actual copy of the actual pendulum she used and so many other ones. She has her light system to purify and energize water, which certainly is a good idea by putting basically you're using ultraviolet, otherwise known as sun energy, into water to energize it. Makes sense. And this is something I've converted over to when I used to use just distilled water, which people want to villainize, which I don't think is the case whatsoever. That's another misnomer. But I've always energized my distilled water. Crystals, tachyons are in there. So my water was never dead. It was energetic. But water, to make it at a higher level and even for it to hold certain energies, should have a certain pure mineral content. You can add that in with some mineral drops, and I'm doing this as well now too. Put some minerals in there, but you don't get your minerals from water. If you had to get your nutrients from water, you would kill yourself, because if you drink too much water, you die. The point is, there isn't enough minerals. So this whole fantasy about water is just that. So you get your minerals, your vitamins, and everything else from physical foods. So not from water. Water generally has little to nothing in it, and if it does, why? So the whole idea is rainwater, which is considered pure, is distilled. There's nothing in it. The rain process is a distilling process in its own way. So there's nothing really wrong with it, but I don't think that it does produce a water that is energetically neutral, or dead, you could say. I don't know, dead's a pair. It's neutral. There's nothing there. So you add in crystals of different types. I have quartz crystals in there that look like pyramids and other things. And I've done a little video on this that you can check out to show you what's put in there. And I've added many other things. But you need to put tachyons in there. You need to put crystals in there. And you can keep soaking up your water. And people think that's an easy way. Oh, your body is not mostly water. It's mostly liquid. The big difference. Oh, it's a liquid, Dr. Tor. I drink this liquid all the time. Oh, let me see that, dumb guy. Bourbon. Yeah, it is. Bourbon's mostly water. That's right. And alcohol is mostly water. Yeah, you probably get a good benefit out of that in general. So the whole idea is that your body's not liquid. Your body is this, basically, is a fluid of combination of chemicals. It's almost a sewer water of chemicals. So it's kind of naive to think that if you live on pure water, and these stories and the crap put out by Flanagan and other people selling you $50 bottles of crap, chemicals that are in plastic bottles so you can drop it in your water to make you better. And by the way, I've used these things personally for years, 0 results. Well, there were results. My pockets were very empty. No cash in wallet. So the whole idea is that all this stuff becomes a serious problem. But so the whole idea is, getting back to the energetic of what's going on, is that she was very much into this using pendulum. So you're going to have to practice that if you want to use her system to the higher level. Now, one of the great things about her system is the use of baths, which generally is you sit in a bath and you pour a couple of cups or whatever into that bath, and this is supposed to change everything. Now, I'm testing this out myself personally, and I'll get back to everyone. I started a little bit, but you can't do this, once a month or anything else. You got to do it 2-3 times a week if you're trying to change something. And of course, there are different types of baths that you take as well. Now, certainly, a lot of I always have a little bit of problem with baths because it seems to be so external, but you basically take in about a quart of water every time you take a shower or a bath. You're sucking that into your system. Well, if that figure is right, and I don't know how they know this, if that figure is right, then you are really sucking in a lot. If you're taking a mineral, or, you could create a herbal tea bath. So instead of drinking it, you sit in it. Oh, sounds like fun, Dr. Tor. So the whole idea is that those things that are out there are very much potent. that can be used in those kind of fashion. So bats are very interesting. Your skin is your largest organ. Most people have horrible skin, which means their internal body is bad. So it's amazing how few people have good skin. But the whole idea is taking these things, which is inexpensive, makes a lot of sense. It gets about as easy as it gets because when you're sick, you don't really feel like doing anything. You don't want to help yourself. You just want to sit there and die.